All right, here's my new project. 2007 Suzuki RMZ 250. It's really nice condition. Got it in a great deal of only $500. And if you look at this bike, you think, man, this thing's never been used. Tires are like brand new. There's no dirt buildup anywhere. It's like it's never seen the mud. And everything is really nice condition except for the engine is locked up. And the chain is like it's never been oiled. We're going to look at that. So when I went to pick it up, I didn't really ask, they just, said it just stopped running. So when I kicked on it, it didn't go. I pushed on it a little bit. I didn't want to kick on it any harder. I mean, it's just stuck, So I thought, okay, got it over here. And first inspection, I took the plug out. No damage on the plug. Plug looks like it was running fine and everything. So dumped the oil. The oil looks like it, was good. But then I didn't see any metal flakes in the oil. But I noticed the oil has new oil and old oil kind of like separated. It's not like mixed together. So they could have, dumped the old oil and put some fresh oil trying to get it to going again. Because that's what it looks like to me in that little oil pan I got down there. Like the old oil and the new oil never mixed because they couldn't get it running, but they added, oil. So then I pulled the oil filter and started looking at all the pleats to see if there's any metal shavings or anything. Didn't find anything, but I noticed the oil filter kind of looks like it's the original filter. It's real brittle and it cracks, Then I started wiping my finger in the oil filter housing there, and I saw some metal flakes. So there is some kind of damage. Now I think what happened was either they ran it low on oil or some, I don't know. But I'm thinking the piston is stuck because it's stuck. It won't go back. It won't go forward. You put it in gear and try to move the wheel. It's not like a rod's thrown or anything. It's just the engine is locked up solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little workbench set up here, move the engine on that workbench, take it off the bike completely and start stripping it down. So I'm going to make a series like that, just like I did with the GPZ, getting this thing going. So we're going to tear the engine down, see what happened to it, what kind of damage. Hopefully it's just the piston and it's not the whole engine is damaged, and it's going to need a whole bunch of new parts. Hopefully you just need the piston, bored and ringed, and get it going again. But I can't, it's kind of weird. Like if it had oil in the engine, what happened to that oil for the piston to burn up? For it to lock up and get seized. I can't see that the engine started eating all that oil and just by, not changing it. Because if you look at the chain is like totally dry. It has no oil on it. Totally worn out. I don't know how they were riding it like that. It's like, just flopping, Teeth are busted off this front sprocket. Front sprocket is just totally wasted. Teeth busted off of it. I just can't understand that. I don't know how you were riding it like that. The filter is totally dirty, But if you start looking at the bike, let's look at the bike. Seat is perfect. Probably a little bit faded, but it's real soft and rubbery feeling, looks real good. The plastic is real shiny, looks real good. Nothing wrong with that. The brake thing over here is busted, but I can still use that with one finger. The fenders, shiny. All the plastic looks really good. Shiny, nothing's broken. Tires, they look brand new. The wheels, they look fabulous. Brakes, they look fabulous. What else? Back tire, look at that. Looks fabulous. Like brand new. Still have the little hairy things there. And if you look under the fenders, you'll see no dirt buildup or anything. It's super clean, like it's never been in the mud. No buildup on the engine. And if you look down here, you'll see that it's really clean. There is a little bit of grass in here, But if you look at the frame here, no mud, mud build up in the cracks and the crevices or anything. It's just like it's never seen mud. And if you notice that rear shock spring, all that metal shaving from the this chain wearing out, all that film is building up on that shock spring. But the engine, I mean, it's all intact. It's clean looking. It's no holes in it from throwing a rod or anything. And so I can't understand. That's kind of weird. I mean, the bike looks like it's, you know, I can't, okay. If you see this chain, if you could see how worn this chain and how loose it is, it's just so, how could you ride a bike like that? Where this thing is just so, I mean, it had to have been making noise and grinding up and doing all kind of, I just can't see how you couldn't, you know, maintenance that. So maybe they, I mean, if the chain is that bad, maybe they just didn't change the oil and it just started burning the oil that it had in there. And it got so low that it burned the piston up, and this piston just seized on the sidewall. And hopefully, because nothing is in the filter, maybe it didn't damage the crank and get as far as, you know, messing up the cams and all that. Hopefully it's just a piston. You just bore it out, maybe next size over, and put some rings in it, you know. But on this one, I'm not going to try to bore it myself. I'll send that out because you saw what a disaster that other bore job was on that little bike that I did. But man, like the air filter, filthy dirty, never been cleaned, and I don't think the oil filter's ever been changed, you know. But the rest of the bike, you look at all the bolts, you look at everything, there's no rust, all the brakes look good, the wheels look fabulous, the tires, and everything about it, it looks really good. Everything works, all there, clean, shiny, looks fantastic. All the engine looks really good. It's just weird that that the engine locked up. Can't understand that. That's just, I don't know what happened to it. But so, and I got the title, signed the title over, you know, got the title to it. So that's a plus. And so now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make a video series just like what I did with that GPZ. And then I'm going to take this engine out. It's not that hard. A couple bolts, you know, move the chain, carburetor and everything, get all this stuff out of the way, pull the engine out. And then I'm going to put it on a little table and start tearing it apart. We're going to see what's wrong with it. Maybe, you know, maybe it just needs a piston. But we're going to find that out. And I'm going to make a little series, you know, just like I did with the GPZ. Of repairing this thing and hopefully get it running. Hopefully it's not the crank and cams and all kind of other damage to it. I'm hoping that, well, you know, if the oil did run low, it just got the piston so freaking hot that it melted it and grinded it on the cylinder wall, and it locked up real quick, and that was it, you know, and it just stopped and wouldn't let any more damage happen. Because that's the highest, you know, friction part of the damn engine. So maybe that stopped it from going any further. But, you know, I didn't see any kind of flakes in the oil. The only flakes that I found were in the oil filter housing. And I can't understand how it didn't get into the little pleats of the oil filter. I mean, I cracked that thing all ways and looked at it with a flashlight. No metal flakes in there, but if you wipe your finger at the bottom of the little oil filter housing, it's got all kind of metal flakes. So there is some damage, definitely. And hopefully it's just a piston. So he did throw in this sprocket, which is a 48 tooth, which is a little bit, if you put it up to this one, it's a little bit smaller. I think this one is a 50. So maybe I can use that one. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, 48 tooth, that's only, what, two teeth. That's just going to slow it down a little bit on takeoff, but who cares? Front sprocket definitely going to need, and chain. I mean, this thing is just stretched, worn out. I really can't see how anyone was riding this bike. It is so stretched and just, you know, I mean, it must have been making all kind of noise. Busting teeth. The front sprocket is getting so worn that it's actually busting the teeth off of the sprocket. But the engine looks all good, so not bad. And it's just so weird that how clean. I mean, this thing is a 2007. It's got a couple years on it, so it's so clean. And if you look, like when you look under the fenders, let's see if I can get this camera going there. You look under the fenders, there's no mud or buildup or anything. You start looking at the wheels and everything, they all look really clean. Tires look brand new. They could have replaced those, but everything, all the bolts and everything on it, it's got water in the radiators, all that's good. It all looks really good. And it's just weird that it's almost like you bought it and you just ride it and ride it and ride it and ride it, and you never maintenance, you never lubed the chain, you never did anything, you never even changed the filter or the oil or the air filter, and you just keep riding it and riding and riding it until it just locked up. That's what I'm thinking would happen. They never maintenance it, they never did anything, they just rode it and rode it and rode it and rode it until it just finally locked up because you never changed the damn oil. That's what I'm thinking happened. And then they thought, oh, well, let me check the oil. So they dumped the oil, and then they saw, oh, the oil is all dirty. Let's put some fresh oil in it and see if we can get it going again. And that's that oil there that came out of it. Because if you look at it, you can see dirty oil, and then you can see clean oil, and it's not mixing because the engine wasn't running. It's just pushed out the dirty oil on top of that fresh oil. And that's why I think it looks that way. But the oil filter, I mean, that thing is brittle. I think that's the original one, never been changed. And the chain and that sprockets, golly, I mean, I don't know how he was riding it like that. I mean, you would think that, you know, you try to get on the bike and give it some power, that chain, man, you think that thing is just going to be making all kind of noise, you know. So that's weird. But everything about the bike is really nice. Everything about it. Seat soft, probably a little faded, but maybe this was a brighter red at one point, but no tears in it, you know. Plastic's all good. The stickers are probably coming up a little bit, you know. These are stickers they put on, but that gives it protection, you know, so it doesn't get all messed up. And you see the plastic, I mean, it's glossy, and I didn't clean it or anything. This is the way it was. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a video series showing this thing, working on the engine, and getting it running. And then once I get it running and everything, I'm not going to do any modifications to it. I'm just going to, that's going to be it. Once I get it running, put a new chain, sprockets on it and everything, and then just ride it, go out to my friend's place and ride, you know, just use it. So pretty cool. But I'm going to make a video series. We're going to find out what is wrong with this little engine here as soon as I get it out. But I'm not going to make these videos like every day because, you know, I'm doing other things. So I don't know when that video will come out, but I just wanted to post this one. But I got to move a spot, you know, get the table over there, get the engine out, put it on there, and then I'll make a video once I do that. But I don't know when that's going to happen, but just watch for it. And I'll make a playlist, you know, just like I did what was it, GPZ Kawasaki, and just show progress on it. But pretty good bike. I mean, even for $500, they could have got more for it, you know. But man, I jumped on it. When I saw it, I was like, man, I got to get down there. And I drove down there like a madman and picked it up real quick. I was like, here, you know, I'm out of here. And just threw it on a truck and I got out. And they could have got more. I mean, but $500, you can't go wrong, you know. I mean, if the engine is totally wasted, I could still get $500 for just, you know, parting this thing out. So, he could have gotten more for the bike, I think, if he would have, you know, asked more for it, but that's what they wanted, and so that's what they got. So I guess we'll wrap this up here. Look for the other videos soon. I don't know when exactly, but I got to get this thing situated, get that engine out, put it on that little table, start stripping it down, and go from there. And you'll see all that stuff. We're going to find out exactly what happened to that motor, and hopefully it's just the piston and needs the piston rings and just, you know, cleaned up and honed and all that stuff. And then it'll be all thrown back together and ready to go. I sure hope it ain't the crank, because the crank is, all that stuff is getting, you know, expensive when you get down there, you know, because you're going to have to tear the whole motor apart and all that stuff. So hopefully the crank is still good. I just can't understand those metal shavings. If they, okay, if the piston started wearing out, you know, started scraping, all that stuff is going into the crank, and then the oil pump is going to pick it up, shove it into the filter, and it never made it to the filter. So maybe it just went up there, and then that's when it locked up and never made it to the filter. I don't know. We'll find out, because we're going to crack that thing open and see what happened. All right, I guess we'll wrap this one up here. Watch for that video. It's going to be coming soon. All right, I'm out for this one.